Hey guys, welcome to the Centre Bounce. In today's episode of the Review Crew, mate, round 0 has just finished. 3 or 4 days, I think it's 4 days if you're counting today. It's really 3 sleeps until our teams are done. Till Supercoach is open. How are we doing, fellas?
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm good.
Scared.
I'm scared to lock in a team. I'm scared to lock in a team given everything we've seen in round 0.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, definitely the same. Similar for myself almost, where I hate Supercoach sometimes, but you have 2 games. So imagine if we had 4 games. If there was no storms in Queensland, how many more questions would we have compared to the amount of questions we've had just after 2 games? I mean, we'll go through the games a little bit, but few players like Callahan have definitely jumped into a lot of people's teams. A few rookies like Sheldrick have just kind of gone in the bin and then not happened anymore. It's a bit of a rough one, God.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of players that just gave out some outstanding performances, like your Days and Callahans that have ourselves questioning our midfields once again.
Yep.
But yeah, and then some rookies have given us some things to think about.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go through a few of the questions here. Maltesing. Sorry, guys, can't make it. It's my birthday. Happy birthday, mate. Travis, how you doing? Sean's in the chat. G'day, folks. There you go. Velo, happy birthday, Maltesing. Charles is saying here, like to thank you guys for all the kind messages. I think Charles was stuck up in Queensland. Similar to shout out to all the Supercoach Insider boys as well. I think Ben and Chris still don't have power at their place. So shout out to those guys if I guess they can still be watching, but just thoughts and prayers. Charles Maltesing, how you doing? Aussie, how's everyone going today? I assume everyone's doing okay.
All good.
Let's go through. Matthew says $0 in the bank without forcing it. Is that a sign, guys?
Definitely making the most out of your money.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be complaining. I mean, I know a lot of people that have 50 to 100K in their bank and they want to use it somehow. So, no, I wouldn't be complaining at all.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's some times where I wish I just had more money in my bank. I was just like, hey, can I take out a prospective loan? Like, how people take equity out on their house? I wish I could do that with my Supercoach team. Be like, mate, I know Finn O'Sullivan, I know whoever else I'm going to pick is going to get to 350K. Can I have that extra money now and then I'll take it out as a loan for later? If only you could do that in Supercoach, that'd be great. Is Finn the $17 million man after all? I mean, reports came out from St Kilda or from the AFL personalities. Hey, Ross came out and said $17 million, Finn, here you go. And we all laughed at it. This weekend, we'll go through the team shortly, but this weekend kind of might have shut a few people up. What do you guys reckon?
For sure.
I definitely agree. I think one issue that I think we all can kind of experienced is looking for those pods, and then those exact players go have a big weekend, and now everyone's on them, and they're no longer pods. Callahan's one of those other, like especially that case, along with Bill Day. They just came out, showing us why they get the massive contracts, and now everyone's like, ooh, another midfielder.
Yeah, pretty much. Eh? It's rough, man. It's rough. You want to be that guy that, hey, so-and-so rookie goes big, or whichever player I had in my team, and then everyone's doing analysis like we'll be doing shortly of the games and whatnot. Whoops, there goes my pod picks. And the guys that, hey, I thought maybe like a Sheldrick who could have been a lock. So many people. We'll go through the injury list soon, but so many teams have been saved this year just with the amount of dud picks that ended up getting snuffed out before the game started, right?
Mm.
It's a bit of a rough one. G-Bags is asking here, fellas, who would you guys prioritize for your starting squad, Day or Callahan, guys? Day or Callahan in your team?
I think Callahan, but it's probably because I think they're going to average similar, and he's 50K cheaper.
Okay, fair.
So I know that frees up money for a potential extra upgrade somewhere else. So that's probably the main reason. I've had both in my team this week, separately.
At the same time as well,
No,
or just separately?
Separately. So Callahan, it was originally Day, and then Callahan's come in for Day. So yeah, I don't know. It's a tough decision.
Okay. Kai?
I'm actually opposite. I prefer Day over Callahan, and that's just because of the sequence of the buy and the price mechanism. Because Callahan, I believe, if my maths is right, is going to be on the bubble during his buy. I just like Day being able to have that first price rise, and then you get to see him up until his buy. If he fails by then you can just flip him to Chera, a Day, or anyone else by that point. So I just like that versatility a little bit more.
Coach, what do you reckon?
I definitely see both sides of the argument for both of the picks. I'm really undecided because Kai raises a really good point. Is that awkward buy with the price change means you can kind of watch him and then grab him on the bubble. But the consideration I've taken, and this is probably why I might be sliding him into the team, is there's only a handful, maybe 1 or 2 games left before Green's back. So if you're looking to capture spike scores similar to the ones we just saw, you're going to have to start him. It's the only consideration you make if you want to start him is, do you believe he's going to have a higher consistent spike score than Day? Potentially. And then, yeah, you can have a look at him after the bye if you haven't got him in, see how Green's going with them, see how that looks from there. But I personally am probably going to say Callahan as well.
Yeah, I guess kind of Will Day, like a few people might be picking Ashcroft and a few of these other guys. Callahan being the cheaper price, it's a straight swap to the player if, the guys you've got aren't great. On the flip side as well, Will Day's obviously had some injury history at points in time. And, I'll go through Hawks in a bit, but spent a bit of time on the bench during that game as well. So a bit of an injury scare there. It's so many questions, man. This year, I'll go back to it. This year, there's so many bloody questions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like with Callahan as well, I actually don't think that Tom Green will affect him too much. As much as a tag will affect Will Day. So I think Will Day will get tagged quite a lot this year. And obviously with Callahan, they're probably more likely to tag Green. Callahan might be a bit more damaging though, which could make them tag him instead. But I don't know. It's kind of similar with Sheasel and LDU. Like, they're probably going to tag LDU because he's more of that burst out of stoppage kind of guy. Whereas I don't know, Tom Green's probably that more established name. So they're probably going to start off the season tagging him over a Callahan.
Yeah, definitely. Charles is saying here, Big J, Finn goes big again. I'll use him as a correction trade. There you go. Michael's saying here, I think Kelly will be pushed to the wing when Green comes back. Could happen there. I know Cornelio definitely doesn't seem to be getting as many CBAs as well. Yeah, definitely. Moving on the list. Cool. Mark's saying here, people have a good afternoon. How you going? Mate, I love the fact today's Labor Day and we got a day off. I'm so happy. I mean, some people don't work full-time and that's okay, but, mate, I'm so bloody happy. Frank is happy too. Good evening, gents. Footy's back. Anyone still considering Sheldrick, guys? Or is he kind of after this week? Last week was good. This week was not so good. And then, where is it? Get in the bin, Sheldrick, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, for
Couldn't agree anymore.
Yeah. No good, no good. Jaden's saying here, this is my first time doing Supercoach and wanting to go with the guns and rookies. However, mid-price madness would allow me to field less rookies overall. And I think before you guys jump in, there's so many good 200K players that you kind of have to go mid-price madness to fit them in, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Definitely agree.
My mouse has been all funny. 1 second, fellas. Thoughts on Cam McKenzie as a Supercoach option? Scored 97. Let me quickly come over and check. Not sure if we can pull up CBAs, but we'll go over them shortly. think
Let me
he's
see
fairly
if I can
cheap
grab
too.
it up.
I think with Cam McKenzie, I think
Here it is.
327k.
he'll hold. I think he will get some CBAs.
Mhm.
I just don't know how consistent it will actually be. If he gets 30-40% CBAs, great. But as you can see there, he's at sixth string. That sixth string almost always gets anywhere in between 20 and 40%.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It's
probably not worth it.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Hey, if you guys like our new layout system, Coach did that for us. That was fantastic. Velo, good day. Big J, good luck for the Supercoach season. There you go. Jen, how you doing, mate? How are we? We're doing well. I think everyone here is pretty good. Darcy Cameron, short-term cash cow, guys. Went big on the weekend. Is anyone considering, or it's just like, hey, when the opposition doesn't play a ruck, your opposition ruckman generally does well?
I'm not necessarily considering him. I think it definitely he's always kind of been just out of that consideration for the Rucks at the moment. His fixture's a little bit up and down, and he could do okay. Maybe with considering him, and maybe this spike score against Keith just kind of puts a nail in the coffin for you to throw him in. But for me personally, looking at the Ruck situation, thanks to some things that happened over the weekend, I still think you can look elsewhere.
Yeah, I think especially, I don't know, considering you don't want to make too many trades in the ruck line, and I know I for one have gone risky and gone Flynn R2 with no real ruck cover apart from Boyd, but if you're gonna pick Cameron and maybe you're even potentially picking Flynn at the flex, I just don't think you want to muck around with it too much. I think you just want to. Because my plan is Flynn and then eventually go to Marshall when we get Marshall DPP. So, and he drops in cash. So that's my plan. But it is risky. And if you're going to bring Cameron in for a cash cow, yes, he's going to make some money. But yeah, how much are you really giving up for him?
Fair enough. You probably can't keep up the scoring as well for the entire year, right? I mean, there was some decent enough scores for him, but it's not like he's 300k or anything close to that. He's basically what is he, 560k or something?
Roundabouts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like
566.
you're gonna pick him over TDK or Meek or anyone else that you probably won't be trading the rest of the season. Like,
but if you're looking for a cash cow as well, like you just saw Dave put in, a very high score at a cheaper price of just under 500. So if you're purely looking for a cash cow, not necessarily tied to the position, you'd probably look there as a safer bet if you want to bring in cash.
Supercoach Pro, mate. If you guys haven't subbed to Supercoach Pro, what are you doing? Get on him. He's trying to get to that magical 1K sub. So, if you guys can do that, that's fantastic. And as well, guys, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already for this channel. Perfect correction trade after his buy. I think we're talking about Finn Callahan. Guys, Harry's here. I hope you're doing well. Trying to sort out these two mid spots, Dawson and Day, 39k in the bank versus Sarong and Chera 9k versus Sarong and Callahan. Which one of those three do you guys think is a better selection, guys?
That's a tough one.
Probably. I think Sarong and Chera. I think Callahan, Chera, and Day, you can put them all in the same conversation. So it makes sense why you've done that. And then Dawson. I guess you put Dawson in there because Day's more expensive than Callahan and Chera. But yeah, I don't really like the Dawson pick anymore. I was on it for a bit.
Okay.
But now I'm not the biggest fan only because of what he did last year. And I think
you reckon Soligo and a few others might take a bit of his points, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, potentially. I mean, Soligo's due for a bit of a breakout, isn't he? So, yeah, Not too sure. Probably the Chera one though.
Kai, which one did you pick?
I'm tossing. I would say tossing up between Dawson and Day and the Sarong and Callahan. I think Dawson with Laird going to halfback, it's 50% of CBAs chucked out, which you can basically reassign 15% a little bit to Rankin, and then Soligo was still at 56%, so I don't think there's going to be too much of a bump there. Maybe Draper and Peatling take up the rest of that, so he's probably still going to get 59% or so with what he was getting. So, and I just think that Adelaide will be a better side, which could even just give him 5 or 10 points. So, and then Day, I think, could easily be that big jumper out of that. What's he, 491, is he? So,
yep.
I think he could be a guy that jumps up into that 15 points or so upside. So I think that's probably the best option. And it also gives you that extra, 25K or so.
Mm-hmm. No, fair enough. I'm in the Dawson and Day if I had to pick one. My team may have a mix of all those players anyway. But just kind of giving you two guys that have been keepers before and definitely have the level of scoring that you hopefully want. Moving down the list. Yeah, Ghost is saying here, this year's been the most unsettled my team has been all preseason, 100%. Where is Joe? Joe is recording with Brodie Holland. He's off doing some fan cast things, and then he's got his show, which I think the first episode comes out tomorrow. So we'll definitely post up. Keep an eye out on Twitter with that. They'll do some footy stuff. There'll be some skits and some other things in there. Yeah, but Joe will be back for Thursdays with the drive home as well. So no worries there. Trav, gents, what do you guys think about Gruinski? Kind of came out of nowhere and went a little bit of a bang this weekend.
I need to look at him a little bit more. Like, I think I just saw his name pop up and saw the score. I'm like, okay, we suddenly now have potentially another option in the mids.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he looks good. I'm not sure if it's a continuous role or if he gets chopped out by some of the returns. So I don't know. I mean, if you do your research on him and you haven't looked at him at all, so wouldn't be wise to make a comment on him, but definitely look into him. He definitely looks like he's got the ability to be able to hold a role. Just depends on if he holds it with the outs coming back into the side.
Yeah, the big problem with him is that you got Hogan, Riccardi, and someone else returning, I want to say, and Briggs, Stringer. And then also if the likes of Briggs comes back, then Keith probably, I would suspect, is ahead of him. And yeah, as a key forward, he's going to, young key forward, like he absolutely takes the piss in the VFL, like kicking 2 or 3 a game, but the AFL is different. He's going to have 0 goal games. Just looking at it here, he had in round 21 and 22, he had a game where he had 3 touches on about 50% game time and kicked 1 goal in the 2 games. So if that gives any indication, I think it could have just been the fact that he got some ruck time because Briggs going down that inflated his score a little bit. And that 61 he scored was pretty much his full 4-game career in terms of Supercoach scoring.
Yeah, it's a bit rough when that happens, isn't it? I think, totally agree. He's behind a few players, but should end up doing quite well throughout the years. Maybe when Stringer and potentially a Hogan. I don't know how much longer Riccardi's got on the list, but the guy's perpetually stuck in the VFL. So, yeah, not too great there. Start Martin. Who's Martin? Taylor and Roberts back. Oh, sorry, Nick Martin. Yep. Taylor and Roberts backline. I don't mind the Sam Taylor pick, but I think for me it's a correction trade. I mean, he came out and scored fantastic. We'll go through GWS shortly. I just don't know if he can do it again. That's the only thing with me.
Teams will make plans on him and, I don't know, it will limit his scoring.
Yeah, definitely. Thoughts on Dawson down to Callahan and Pryor up to Perryman at D5? I don't mind it. I think if Joe was here, he would let us know a little bit about Pryor's job security, but it's going to be an interesting watch over this week and next week with guys like Redmond back who gets the flick a little bit. Pretty fair, guys.
Yeah.
Bruce is a third forward, not showing his job security. There you go. I think GWS owe Finn the role after he turned down that 17 million. Him and Green will be at the Staples. Yeah, 100%. We touched on the money before, but I think just guys like Cornelio have definitely slowed down. Even Kelly slowed down and aren't as reliable anymore. So if you've got to stay in the window, you've got to give these young guys a run, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. SJP. Can't wait to antipod Callahan again when he's going 80s and 90s. Hopefully not. Worried on Gawn with Keith this week. Boys, predictions on how much Max Gawn is going to go this week, guys. We'll figure it out next Monday, but what is Max Gawn going to score this week?
All right. Well, you got to think about it, right? Darcy Cameron, I think he had 10 at quarter time, and he ended up on 160. So that means 50 a quarter. He's going 200, baby.
200. All right. Kai, what's Max Gawn going?
Oh, well, his top is 212. I think he could genuinely get closer. I just want to quickly see who in the world was he rucking against in that game. He rucked was that surely not a 212 there? But anyway, I think he's going to go 185.
185, Coach. What do you reckon?
I reckon he goes big. I just don't think he goes that big.
200?
I don't know. I mean, we would all love to see a 200 in round one, wouldn't we?
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm going to say more 160.
Okay, so both fairly odd numbers. I'm going to be conservative, go the 120, and we'll see how we go from there. Maybe they play a little bit differently. Maybe he takes a bit of a rest because Keith can't do much, or we'll see, but I'll go a bit more conservative on the 120. Guys, let us know who we've picked. Otherwise, we'll revisit again on Monday. Flash is saying here 190. A couple of people saying here Max Gawn's going to go 200. So that's what Harry's saying here as well. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting for us next week. Do you guys think it's worth having all these 190 mids sitting on your bench, or it's worth changing down to upgrade players on field? Do you guys want to start first, or do you want me to start with this question?
Give us a rundown, McJ. What do you think?
Yeah, so the thing with you have to look at first who's on your bench that, let's pretend around the 120K mark that is going to be a keeper for the whole time. So maybe a Camporelli type, maybe one of these St Kilda rookies, that kind of thing, even an Elijah Hewitt. So him on someone, let's say, versus a Nod who's 190K, that's already 80K points. Like, that's already one price rise. That's already maybe 15 on the average in terms of overall scoring that Nod has to get to even make up the money difference. So Scott Father's really big on it about going cheap on the rookies on the bench. I am a little bit as well, because they're not going to be scoring you points on field, and the initial investment in these players is so insanely high as well. So I think my most expensive player is Kako on my bench. There's, talk maybe a Cleary, but I think we've got a few more defenders who might end up being options as well. It's kind of like, hey, look, you've got a guy that probably needs to average a 70 to make as much money as the guy who's on your bench, who starts off 80K cheaper, that needs to make like a 60 to give the relevant amount of scoring and price value. So, yeah, I would probably pick your best three or four. I know a few of us had Sheldrick on the bench as well. So maybe a Nevitt, Sardis, like O'Sullivan, Ashcroft, that kind of thing on field. Had a Sheldrick on the bench. Cool. Obviously, Sheldrick's gone. You can downgrade him, and then you should be okay that way. It could be the difference, let's say, Jaden Short versus Tom Stewart, for example. Like, which one would you rather pick? Or would you have Tom Stewart versus a Zorko or a Whitfield, on your bench? Or who's another example, guys, that you could think of where that 80K would really help out?
I mean, I think the early example might be like a Perryman up to a Day or a Callahan.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I would say something even just in the midfield, probably that, looking at it here, just like in that M5 slot, a lot of people will have Oliver or Chera or something like that, and that 80k could be the difference between that and a Peatling or something like that, whose role isn't as certain.
Yeah. So it kind of works out that way. Is that pretty fair what I've said in terms of rookies on field versus ones on bench and making your money and whatnot? Or you guys kind of like, nah, stuff it. Let's pick the most expensive guys and we'll go ham.
No, I agree with you. I think, especially I've had like Ashcroft on my bench at stages because you just don't know whether he's going to be a sub risk or not. And it's too risky not to pick him. But I've now stuck with having him on field.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. Kako's my most expensive player on the bench. So the rest of them are 120, 110 guys. So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go too. Just like that initial money. I mean, you don't win Supercoach if your bench is, $1 million and the guys on field's only 9 million, even with best 18. So kind of works out nice there. If there was no Chera and Will Ashcroft, then maybe I'd consider Callahan. Fair enough. I think a few of us have gone fairly cheap in the midfield. So there's so many good 400k. I currently have 3 400k midfielders. So alongside 3 400k defenders, which is great as well. You guys can kind of pick out who I've selected so far.
Yeah.
Supercoach Pro rigged his draft live at the moment. Changed the draft order 13 minutes before it started. He got pick 1 and I got pick 12 and 24. Well, sucked in Jonas. Unlucky.
Surely it's a snake draft.
Yeah, you'd hope so, right? Flash is saying here, Big J, you guys going to do a team reviews? Yep, 100%. I'm going to do mine after this. I was going to do it beforehand, but just ran out of time. So I'm going to do it after this. I'll check in with Joe. I'll make him do it tomorrow. So no worries there. Any word on Ed Richards? Will he be right to go for round 1? From what I've heard, he will be, guys.
He will be.
I've heard, yeah. I haven't heard anything that's gone.
No, he's been someone who's been in and out of my team. So I had him when I think Abs talked about him in a video, and then I got convinced to pick him.
Mm-hmm.
And now with all those, he'd still be in my team if not all of those 450k guys didn't come up. But yeah, he's definitely a pod that he's 1% owned now. So he's definitely a pod that could really get you high in the ranks. So I think, especially first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be okay too, from what I'm hearing as well. Let's quickly check him out. Ooh. Yeah, 1% owned, mate. 1% owned.
Your pod.
Yeah, there you go. Him and Joe Richards, so you could have the Richards brothers if you wanted to. Aussie's saying here, one more thing, boys. Do you think it's worth taking the risk downgrading a Cherry to have Flynn R2 with an allows prior upgrade? I know God's into the Flynn R2. Currently, I'm into the Flynn R2 as well, even though it's incredibly dirty and I'm not happy about it. It's tough, man. Cherry's a weird one, guys. I'm a North Melbourne supporter, and Cherry's bloody weird. Like, we talk about players going big and then someone having a worse kind of early run and whatnot. He went crap against Tom Campbell and then came out and did like the 150 in the next week versus Flynn. I don't know what's up with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to win Supercoach if you don't take a risk. If you just go all basic picks and you're picking Flynn at flex and Cherry at R1 or whatever, unless you're making it up with a risk in somewhere else, I don't think you can win Supercoach if you don't have a risk. Not talking from experience, but yeah, I think the Flynn R2, it just allows that extra upgrade around the ground. I think he's still going to get you 85s. So considering that, I think it is worth it if he can stay on the track.
Yeah. I'm in that boat too. Just hope he can stay fit, which is the big thing. James is here. Richards is ready to go. Short or Richards as a starting pick, lads. I'm leaning to short, but it's a tough one. Short, I wish Richmond had round 0. I know we saw a lot in that preseason game, but I wish they had round 0 to cement the short pick in my brain. But at least if it doesn't work out and Sam Taylor goes big, you can just sideways and make a bunch of cash, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Richards was in the defense, I'd defend him mid. I'd definitely have him in.
Oh, 100%.
Mm.
Yeah. I think Adelaide mids will split the points. Too much to consider having any of them, potentially. Sorry to go. See you, Velo. Libba as a quick points grab, guys, before we head into the teams for last week.
I don't know. I think it definitely could
He's
be a points
expensive.
grab. I say you're paying up. Well, you're not necessarily paying up. He's at a decent price, but there's not really any value to be had. He's one big hit away from an early retirement. How it's not draws on a quicker road back to the team than what we expected, which then means there's going to be more split there. You got Richards coming into the mix. I'm not exactly sure where he falls. Obviously, he's had I think an average of 70 to 73% CBAs with the full squad in. So he's definitely going to be a good point grab. It's just whether, again, considering the trades, is he someone you're going to see out for the rest of the season? Probably not. He's probably going to take a hit at some point and kind of go through there. So definitely, yeah. I don't know. As God was saying, bit of risk there. If you're going to take the risk with Libba, by all means.
Yeah.
That's a different form of risk.
Exactly. It's not the value risk or trying to make cash and generate that cash risk. It's more of a points risk with that massive injury cloud that will be chasing you, and you'll be watching the games like this every time he goes and pick up the ball. It's
got to go extra well as well, because you're also going to be spending a trade to get him out of there. So
exactly.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Yeah, a bit like Lockie Whitfield to me. Just every 2 seconds he takes a hit. It's oh, is he back on the field? What's happened?
Yep.
Cut you off, Kai.
Oh, yeah, I was just looking at it here just on my screen at the moment. 3 130s followed by a 105. It's a 50K cash gen, and like God was saying, you're wasting a trade, and that's almost perfect case scenario, and there's just so much downside. So I'd rather I guess a scenario where a guy is going to make let's just put Clayton Oliver with a similar rundown. Just say he goes 110 in that same time frame. He's already up to 61K gained, and he's averaging 10 less more than the likes of Libba. 20 less than Libba, and I think that's just you're getting 10 more K, you're saving an extra 100K, and you're having a less expectation on a player, and that's just why I wouldn't go for that quick cash, not cash generation, that quick points grabbers. That's something that you look for at the end of the season with those spike 3-game periods.
No, fair enough. Flash is asking here, Jaden Short plus 100K or Max Holmes? I don't mind the Short.
Max Holmes.
Similar. Max Holmes, you reckon?
Ooh,
I've got Max Holmes. I like him.
Fair enough.
I value the short pick. I'd say that 100K can be spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I just think he's going to score okay. I mean, if he comes out and scores 100, he's making you 100K. So he's obviously incredibly underpriced. And speaking with the guys on VC last night, it definitely seems like they're going to play slow, which obviously favors Short because they actively looked to give him the ball, which was hilarious. Let's go through these. West Coast versus GWS in round 4. Max Flynn could score big, potentially. That'd be interesting. How's Sheldrick's job security now, boys? Not that good? Or, hey, I mean, he's no longer in our teams, but I mean, kind of just job security in general.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Maybe for a couple of weeks. 1 or 2 weeks, he'll be the sub both weeks. And once they get players back, he'll be gone.
That's it, hey? Yeah. SJP, Cherry, Gawn, TDK all locked in now with Briggs down, Gawn, and must have. Interesting. I was so big on the triple ruck starting. Flynn definitely put a spanner in the works with that for me. I don't mind it, to be honest. I think it's doable, and yeah, you could make yourself a lot of money to start off with. If you weren't keen on someone like a Dawson, you could flip like Dawson to the flex, throw in another ruckman, like a Meek or somebody, and then throw whoever's in your flex around on the field. Potentially could work out for you.
The only reason I don't like it is because you can have so many crap rookies on in the defense or back line. You can have like one extra rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I don't know. I don't like any of the rookies in the forward line or back line. So I'm trying to limit that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably outside of Davidson, right? I mean, he's flexible, I suppose, and then maybe a Reed or a Patton for like some cheap money. But your first upgrade's definitely going into the defense, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's your general thoughts on Dunks? Is there too much split in the mids or just too many other options? I don't know if Kai can pull it up, but I don't think they've got the preseason CBAs yet coming out.
No, I don't think they do, but let me just see if I can grab up.
We'll get another.
I personally like the pick.
You like
I
Dunks?
love the pick. I love the Dunks pick. I think the consideration is the first two games we saw of opening round, they ran tags. So Lachie Neale's going to cop some attention. Even with the skill and talent that's running through that midfield with the Ashcrofts, I think Dunks is still solid in that second cog role. I don't think that's shifting or moving. Whether he is able to push up numbers close to Neale, another question to be had. But if personally, he's in my team. I'm accounting for the tag. I think the tag's going to hopefully give Dunks a bit more of a consistent score. So I may not get Lockie's, spike scores, but I also don't get his floor tag games. And I'm hoping the Dunks pick corrects that. So I personally love the Dunks pick. If Kai, were you able to find any of those CBAs?
Couldn't seem to find any of the CBAs for Dunkley, to be fair, but I can just bring up their CBAs from last year, just looking at the general dynamic of it. So you have the CBAs, and to me, I think McCluggage is probably the one that shifts out slightly to the wing to accommodate the other Ashcroft, as well as the fact that he could probably honestly hold it about 40%, which is negligible change in the long run from that 33 he had last year. So it's probably Dunkley probably holds it 80%, and it's just whether he gets back to a better performance. I think this is the Dunkley, looking at Dunkley himself and just looking at the gains. He didn't really have those big spike games other than this stretch last year of 140 where he just went nuts. But it doesn't look there's no real difference though, is there, from what he did last year? It's kind of just the same, to be honest with you. And maybe you're looking at the 4 points of upside from 24 to 23, but I don't really see there being much for Dunkley. If you're looking for pure up, a little bit of upside, maybe, but yeah, I think there's other options there where you can get a top 20 from last year to be a top 6 mid.
Yeah, sure. I think for me, Dunkley just, I've said it before, but Dunkley definitely feels like he gets given the shit job sometimes. And I think that's going to be more so now with Ashcroft and baby Ashcroft in the team and, Bailey and a few others there. These guys can't really play the tackling type roles, whereas Dunkley gets given them. They won't give it to Lachie Neale because he's better on field. So, hey, Dunkley, go mark this person for half a game or go tackle this person, so on and so on. I don't mind him for his price, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting one there.
You're definitely not picking him for value or anything like that. You're picking him as a pod, low ownership. You're picking him for consistent scores to account for some flaws and tag games. That's the only considerations I've made with the pick is slightly more consistent, tag safe, he's in the top 3 of the rotations. That's sort of, you're not, at 602, you're not looking at value or anything like that. If anything, you're hoping he holds his price and doesn't drop too much.
Fair enough. Maybe we'll pull up the games. We'll go through the games from round 0. I'll just tackle in any more questions. One sec. Supercoach Scout saying here, how many of the 3 400k defenders have you got? How many of the 4 400k mids? I have all of the defenders at the moment and 3 of the mids, guys. Quickly, how many do you guys have?
2 400k defenders and 3 400k mids.
Coach, how many you got?
Yeah, apparently 2 and 2 at the moment.
Hi.
3 defenders and 2 of the midfielders.
Nice. Do we know what happened with Rosie in the inch club? I think he just stubbed his toe, so it's not too bad there.
It was a Jason Horn-Francis hip drop tackle that made him stub his toe. When you look at the vision, I was just...
Yeah.
And especially after Goulden just stuffed his ankle from a hip drop as well, I was just like, why are you doing that to your own teammate?
Do you have the video? Can we find
let's just see.
It's funny, like, so you got your 2 guns that you guys were all hoping does really well, and then they're out there doing this, and you're like, stop it. Don't do it.
Don't get injured, guys. We've got a week before the AFL opens.
I mean, it would suit the style that we've had this preseason, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. What do we got? Can we make a full screen?
Let's see if this will work. It's kind of this half-hearted one. He pulls out of it.
Trips him almost. Hey.
Yeah, but you can definitely see the hip just straight onto there.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that in an intra-club game?
To your captain. Maybe he wants the captaincy. He's like, mate, I need it. That's it. Locked in, boys. So I think he's okay to play round 1, though. Has Laylaw been in your teams now that he's named round 1?
Nah.
I mean, no.
Not at the moment. I think my team's so set and I have $300 left in my bank and I don't want to make any more changes. And I can't afford Layla now because oh well.
Take everyone out for an ice cream, mate. Make it worthwhile for them.
Yeah.
Short D2, too thin down back. D3's Roberts, D4's Perryman. I think it's there's a couple of really nice priced, well, not nicely priced, but appropriately priced defenders in Sheasels or Co. That it's a bit rough not to have those 2 or a Whitfield. So you're going very cheap for me. Breach is also tempting. Yeah, I like him too.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool. G-Bags, thank you very much, G-Bags. Hey, fellas, is it worth fading Daicos until round 4 as he's likely to have a price drop? Or should we stick with him in case... No, for me, it's a no. I'm not even sure if he's injured or not. We'll go through injuries later, but I don't think he's...
No, I'm pretty sure it was just a cramp for him. But okay. I think I did some of the maths behind it, and it was he has to score 140 in both games just to hold price. So he basically is going to be maybe, at a best case scenario, 20k more expensive come that Anzac Day when his run just becomes monster.
So get him on Anzac Day, but he's going to drop a bit in price over the next couple of weeks. So
yeah. I had him in my team before the game, and I don't know. Well, it was a hard watch for starters that game, but we'll get into that. I think I'm just gonna get him in round 4. I think that's when you should get him. He's gonna be the first upgrade, I think, for me. So yeah, he's the priority at the moment.
Nice. Last question before we head into the teams. Trainer a likely starter for now round 1. Yep, Rory Joe. He has been named alongside Armstrong. Forward for Richmond and Laylaw as well. So cool. Let's head into the first teams, guys. For round 0, we have. Oh no, this is not the right. Is this the right one? Sydney versus Hawks.
Yeah, this was the first game. So yeah, Sydney decided to have their annual. They they decided to continue on with their 2024 form. And this time they decided to not be able to come back in the second half. And it was largely down to, I mean, Trav Warner and Isaac Heaney not really hitting that absolute strap. I mean, there was probably about a 10-minute period in the third quarter, I want to say, where they brought it back to within a goal or so. But then there was some, I would say, the biggest mistake of the game probably killed it off with the Florent miss kick that handed a basic goal to get it out to, I think it was 2 kicks at that point. And then Hawthorn had 5 minutes of dominance.
Patton and then Mackenzie ended up marking it, and that was it.
Yeah. But anyway, on to the players. Matty Roberts, and he was actually really, really good for what some people would say would be a slightly awkward role, I would say. And one of the stats came out of it, and yes, I'm using fancy stats in saying this, but he only had 1 kick in, but he still had 24 points in terms of fantasy off the kick-ins because he was basically the first to receive. And Blakey on these 10 kick-ins had, I think it was 36. So there was only that 4 kicks worth of difference for the 9 kick-ins difference that they had. So I think that role is almost as good as being the direct kick-in because he gets the plus 6 or 7 points from that, the mark, and then the good ball use out of 50. Warner, Blakey, Heaney, and then really for Sydney, because they're on the opening round, and we'll get to the other teams, you can just go straight down to the rookie players. Can't even get it out. In that of Corey Warner, where's Patton? Should be, let me sort it by this way, then we can get him. Patton at 67, I think. And with the way I'll be lining up my team, which you'll see it later, I'm actually going to start with the likes of Corey Warner, and that's just because of that extra 15K. I don't want to be hunting for it because I think he's 148 and Patton's 133. I don't want to be hunting for that extra 15K elsewhere. I'd rather go down to Patton if his job security is right, because he could be the one that is on the chopping block. But he's 67. He could easily make 80K in 3-4 weeks very, very easily. Same can be said about Corey Warner at that F7 role. And then everyone's sort of favorite son, I would say, in Gussie Sheldrick, that was a pretty poor performance, but he's probably saved a little bit by Mills still being out, Goulden out. Adams looks to be probably after the bye. I would say he probably joins Mills in post-bye, coming back from a hamstring, what they call awareness, but we know he's probably done something to it with him being on the older side. And so I think Gussie Sheldrick probably gets better, but yeah, that 32 in his price cycle is a no to start. And it was disappointing as well to see Hannah Lee as sub, because that could have been another option at F7. But yeah, that was F7 for Sydney, and probably Matty Roberts is the only thing to really talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I've got Ben Patton. Have you guys got Patton in your team or not really?
No,
He's been floating in and out.
I've got him on field at the moment.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I didn't think he looked that good, and then his Supercoach scoring came up, and I'm like, okay. Sometimes the eye test doesn't. They get those sneaky kicks that you don't really realize,
there
right?
There you go. The 91% of disposal efficiency must have done it.
I think so too.
And he ended up with 5 contested possessions as well.
Can we zoom out? Zoom in one more?
Yeah, let's. That's kind of stuff.
No, all right.
We can do
that's. I know. No, that's fine. Go back to the other side. That's cool. All good. Heading over to Hawthorn. Now, it was a nice day for Hawthorn. I didn't think they would win. I didn't tip them. I went 0-2 for tips, so hopefully you guys did a lot better in tips than what I did. 0-2 is not great. Will Day definitely cemented himself in a lot of people's teams. It was an interesting one for me. If you take away the 3 goals, which, okay, cool, he kicks a goal a game. Take away the 6 free kicks, probably gets 2. You may be looking at a 120 odd. Scored 110 in the first half, which was great, and then scored 38 points in the next half. Half of it was due to not really being on field in the third quarter, but then also the James Jordan tag came in. And I think a lot of teams really did see with him, hey, look, it's something that you can use to really just nullify him. So probably not the best thing there. I had him in my team. I've taken him out for Callahan. Just the price is a little bit better. There you go. Just the pricing's a little bit better for me. Can you guys hear that? That's hilarious. Little bit. Okay, cool. Some guy on like a scooter driving down the road. It's great. Lloyd Meek with the 126, someone who I love in Supercoach. I think he's fantastic. Really good price for performance. Scored 90 odd off 60 points, so 60% game time in the practice match last week. So, that obviously evens out a little bit. Kicked 2 goals. Is one of those ruckmen similar to a Cherry and a Max Gawn that I think is probably good for 1 or 2 goals a game. Just that contested marking for him is bloody fantastic. So good for that. Just a nice bit of scoring. Number 1 ruck there. There was some concern that Reeves might end up sharing ruck with him as they have practiced a little bit over the preseason. Obviously in this game, not. It was Chol, it was Weddle a little bit, but he's obviously the main man. Scrimshaw did well, Nash did well, Amon did well, probably not Supercoach relevant. A few people with Cam McKenzie in their team, 320k. I think if Peatling was still an option and we didn't have so many good 450k mids, potentially. James Sicily is one that is probably worth a talking about. He was on 80-odd, maybe 70-odd points heading into the last quarter. Ended up on 92. Took a few really nice contested marks. A few great contested possessions. Kicked a goal as well in that forward. Well, he got moved to the forward line in the fourth, as we heard quite a lot that it was going to happen. Hey, that was kind of the talking point and the reason why, alongside the early buyers, why people have jumped off. But with him, for me, it's just a big wait and see. There's too many question marks. They need forwards, and he obviously can play forward. And bringing in Frost as that sub, whenever you see Frost as sub, you know that he's going to end up playing forward at some point. Just when an injury comes, Frost can only play defense. Hey, look, Sicily's the rotator in that spot. So, bit rough there. Jai Newcomb with the 90. Would have liked to see a bit more. 6 clangers definitely didn't help his scoring. I'm giving away 3 frees as well, but for the price, I think someone like a Rosie might be better. Dylan Moore is fantastic. Going to be great for us in Supercoach. Was on 60-odd points at halftime and then just kind of fell away, which may be something to worry about, but probably ends up as F6 for a few of our teams. Moving down the list, there really isn't anyone else who's Supercoach relevant as well. No, that's probably about it, really. Nick Watson didn't do much at all. He was on 0 touches for till halftime, I think. It was pretty pretty sad, right?
In saying that, we probably need to. There was one guy that I missed from Sydney, and one of the reasons why Nick Watson was on 0 would be if that didn't. Where is he? He's up the top here. Sammy Wicks, now turned defender, and he's really that sort of partner in crime almost to Nick Blakey off that halfback in terms of the run and gun, and he absolutely gave Nick Watson a lesson, and it was quite funny. To see Nick Watson get slowly, progressively more frustrated in the game. And at 2, which Sydney forward do you guys actually value better, God, in terms of Wicks? Where is he? Wicks, Warner, and also Patton.
You go.
I think they'll play. Wicks over both of them. And then I think Patton's probably that next string. Warner showed signs, but like a few good pressure acts, like he's a bit of a pressure forward, and I kind of like that about him. But I think they probably play Patton over him. I think that's, even though they just signed Corey Warner for 2 more years and they want to keep Chad on the list. But yeah.
Yeah, he's just too expensive. Like if Wicks was 130k or even 150k, cool. But at just over, I think it's 240.
240, yeah. Let me just bring it up here. 241k. That's an extra 100k that you just put on field, and go back 20 minutes to what we were saying about the midfielders and getting that extra 100k, and that's that's the disappointing thing about Wicks.
Well, there you go. I think one of the big things to say with Sydney too is Taylor Adams I think he's been cleared, which is great. But it does seem to be a team that when you've taken out Goulden, a couple of these other players, they really just fall off quite a lot. They need everyone, and for a team that just offloaded the likes of Parker, mate, you almost wish that they had come back, right? I mean, Parker in this team would have at least been able to steady the ship a little bit, and that's obviously not happened. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not the best thing for them. I don't think I'll be tipping Sydney for a while, potentially at their CG, but outside of that, oi, oi, oi.
Looking grim.
Yeah. Heading into the next game, guys.
Yep, let me just bring it up
Yes.
for you, boys.
Thank you, Kai.
There we
It's-
go. Should be.
Easy. So we had the Giants come up against the Pies. What a game. I think we saw the Lockie Whitfield effect in regards to some goal kicking. It's confirmed. It's locked in.
He can
God's
kick
gonna
goals.
God's going to slowly disappear behind the camera in a minute. So I won't talk too loudly about how well the Giants played. But the main standout, obviously, we all know, Ben Callahan, absolutely demolished, even with 84% game time on ground. It kicked some goals. He had some lovely 3 exchange plays from halfback, which just saw him running. He showed he's got the tank to run it out as well. And we also saw a lot of match fitness get into question with cramping and very early signs that people aren't necessarily prepared just yet for the full match. But I think we all saw signs to go for a breakout season. I think we're all very, very confident that he's now lock as an option in regards to a mid-pricer that you can put in for value. Whether you get them all in with Chera, Oliver, and Day, clearly on the structure, but he's definitely a contender for that as well. Sam Taylor put his hand up. I think he had around 8 intercept marks, or at least 8. He was everywhere. He had 94% disposal efficiency as well. He just looked really, really good. This is a really big spike score for him. He hasn't come close to averaging towards the 115s, but I think he's definitely one to watch. Definitely a correction trade player if he continues this sort of impact in the game. Had Jelly. I know a lot of people are on Jelly for a bit of a pot option as well. If you were watching him, you were very, very happy. Whether the role changes where Green kicks in or if it's a Canelio that goes to the wing, there's a few different rotating factors to consider if you have Kelly, but overall, I think you're very happy. The Lockies, Ashton Whitfield, just doing what Lockies do. If you're looking at Whitfield as an option, I think you're very happy. I think he's definitely a solid lock. I think he's around that 13% ownership. So considering that buy in round 2, I think he's going to provide enough to really be a contender for that top 6 this year. The other considerations that we're all watching for this game in regards to the Giants were the 2 rookies. We had Leak and we had Stone. Now, I think there was a little bit more on the shoulders of Leak because we're scrapping for defensive rookies and we wanted to see more. I think we saw enough to potentially take the risk. However, he was very much hot and cold. Had quiet moments, had some really nice moments. Had some shot on goal. I think he had 2 shots on goal, missed the first one, but made the second one. Everyone got around him for that, which was nice. Whether his role shifts and a question on his job security once Green's back into the team, just because Leak did spend some time in CBAs as well. So definitely one to watch. The 64 is reasonable. I think it's enough for us to lock him in. Whether he's one that's going to make us the cash quickly or enough before he starts getting some job security questions is another thing to consider. But I personally have Leak in my team. I think I've saw enough. We are scrapping for rookies and defense, so I think we'll take what we can get. I also think Stone. I think we expected a little bit more from Stone. He definitely had some flurries of really nice plays and some IQ highlights as well, where it was just a nice tap along the boundary to keep the ball moving forward. I still think he's a lock. I still think outside of Davidson and Stone, we're still kind of looking for another lock like Kako. Outside of those 3, anyone's guess on who else can be locked in. We had good old Maxi as well, who got the 61. Again, we've spoken a fair bit about him, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. The main thing to consider with this game as well is we did see Briggs go down quite early. Just been ruled as a concussion to just miss it next week, but we'll dive into more on that when we cover the injuries. But overall, nice win by the Giants. The Orange team, good win.
All right. Here we go. So, yeah, this average list. We're just we got to forget the premiership years and just think about this now. This is the background we're going with now. Yeah, so just reading a few of the comments. SC God, Pies, season over. Don't you dare hide. Mate, I talked to you in VC on the Discord last night, and I didn't hide. I said we were garbage, and yeah, there's a lot of thinking to do. Yes, we're all bloody turtles at Collingwood, and yeah, Harry Mackay might kick 57 goals on Reef McGuinness, but anyway, we'll get into the Supercoach side of things, and I'll throw in a few constructive criticisms to my club because I think it's much needed. Anyway, we'll start with Darcy Cameron, 164. He had 10 points at quarter time, I believe. Yeah, look at that. 19 contested, 37 hit outs. He only went at the 59% disposal efficiency. And as you look down the list, I think all of them are about that. So that's just great to see. And yeah, I think overall Darcy Cameron played a really good game. Definitely best on for the Pies. But yeah, no, probably not in my thinking Supercoach wise. I think there's better players at that ruck position to pick that instead of grabbing a quick cash grab for 2 weeks, why not pick someone that you're going to have him for a bit longer? Josh Daicos, 95 Supercoach, 28 touches, played at half back. And I mean, now that we know that Collingwood are going to be crap and he's going to play at half back all year and the ball's going to be down there, yeah, he might average that 28 touches and he could actually be a good pick. But I don't really think you can pick him only based off the fact that he's only a mid right now. And there's mid rookies you need to have on field, and there's other midfielders around the same price that I think are more higher priority. Yeah, and then Harry Perryman, 27 touches behind. No, really good. I thought Perryman's first half was exceptional, and then obviously faded out. I think he had 10 touches in the second half. He might have had 17 in the first half, so faded out a bit. But I think he's going to get that full-time mid role. I don't think Daicos coming back will affect his role too much. When Daicos does come back, I think he's missing the first. I think he's missing this week, and then he'll come back next week. And then Jack Crisp is just irrelevant and needs to retire. Pat Lipinski, very disappointing based off what he produced a couple of weeks ago against Richmond. He had like 37 disposals. So, yeah, definitely not Supercoach relevant on that wing. Ed Allen looked, I thought, really good signs. Bit like Sardis, a bit of a handball merchant. But yeah, I think you can start him. I don't think there's anything really wrong with starting him. I just think there's a few better options at the price that are going to make a bit more money. He's definitely going to get the mid-time. When Daicos comes back, I'm not too sure. But yeah, for now, he's definitely getting the mid-time. Darcy Moore needs to learn how to man up. We're just going to pass him. Steele, I mean, he looked all right in 46% disposal efficiency. Actually, forget about him. He's crap as well. Nick Daicos, well, maybe get your body right so you don't cramp all game. But in regards to starting him, I probably wouldn't start him. I had him in my starting team, but no, not going to start him this year. I think you can go to a Sarong and be confident, really confident that without that early buy and that he's not going to lose. I don't think he's going to lose cash, or even like a Brayshaw if you wanted to go a little bit cheaper, or a Dunkley as rookie coach said before. Yeah, I don't think Nick Daicos is the answer to your problems. Isaac Quaynor, he's just a bit irrelevant. He played okay. Bobby Hill, he played all right, just a bit inaccurate. Supercoach irrelevant. Jamie Elliott, Supercoach irrelevant. Scott Pendlebury. Now I checked Fan Footy after the game and posted a video reviewing that game. But I didn't see he had this little snail emoji thing next to his name here. Now, what I need to say to these Fan Footy guys is this guy is the biggest legend of the club. Do not disrespect this man like this. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know who this guy is that runs this Fan Footy thing, but do not disrespect this man like this. This guy he's probably on the Supercoach Mount Rushmore as well. So lay off him a bit, all right? So, but yeah, he's also got to retire. And then Jeremy Howe, he played okay. There's nothing really wrong with Jeremy Howe. I just think all these backline players for Collingwood that got under 70% disposal efficiency, that just makes no sense. Like in the backline, you're meant to have like 80%. Your whole backline's meant to have 80% disposal efficiency, and when that's not the case, you're in trouble. Bo McCreary got chucked in the midfield late, which I thought was interesting, and I actually thought he looked pretty good in there. Definitely, probably wouldn't be looking at him for Supercoach. Maybe he might get midfield time later in the year, and he could become a little pick to get you some money, but definitely probably not starting him. Checkers, Brody Myercheck, kicked 2, but looked old. Reef McInnes. I didn't mind this Reef McInnes pick about, I don't know, maybe over a month ago when I found out he was playing centre half back. But 200K is just way too much for him. So if he was about 120K, he could be in consideration. Hoskin Elliott, no, he's a spud. Braden Maynard, he played okay on Toby Green, but that's about it. McStay looked pretty bad. Membry looked like a nothing player. Schultz, why did we give up a first round draft pick for that nuff? And Ned Long, he's a list clogger, so he's just there. But yeah, overall, really good game from the Pies. Thought they tried their hardest, and onto Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, I guess. I don't know how we're still favourites for that game, but yeah, onto them.
That was brutal.
Mate, tell us how you feel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna get a welfare check on God tomorrow, guys.
Mate, if you go back and watch my video after this, it's just me sad for 10 minutes straight. God.
Oh boy.
Alrighty. Well, I guess that's the teams, right? I mean, the thing with Collingwood, without Nick Daicos in that side, they just kind of faltered a little bit. They love him for the transition, and even the likes of Perryman really slowed down as well. I think he was on 70 points at almost half time, 3/4 time, and just fell off hard. So it definitely disappeared for a while, and kind of seen that a little bit from the scoreboard. Hey,
definitely.
Yeah, I did think that we had. I reckon we had most of the territory game for the first 3 quarters, and they just kicked 3 quick goals at the end of each quarter, which just really hurt us. And we couldn't kick accurately. And then that last quarter, they just ran on all over us. Even if we converted goals during that game, they were always going to run over us in that last quarter. So, yeah.
Well, Ian's with you. I mean, guys, Sydney and Collingwood no good after one loss. How did Brisbane start last year? So even Port Adelaide, I mean, they didn't have a great run to start, and then bang, bang, bang. Still something to be going for Collingwood there. Maybe we'll head into some injuries for the week, guys, that we need to have a look at, the ones that are Supercoach relevant and whatnot. And then we'll answer your questions. We might be finishing up about, let's say, 9 o'clock today. Try and keep it for the 2 hours. So, yeah, guys, smash through those questions. Anyone got some stuff there? I don't know if Kai can throw up some injury lists just while we're having a look through some of these. Chera and Smith or Rankin and Parker leaves me with $0, guys. Ooh. Who's Smith?
Baz.
Cool. I would go the second one. I think Rankin's the only must-have, really, out of that list. Yeah, moving down the list. Neil worth the dollars compared to Dunks. Little preseason issues have put me off a bit. But at the end of the day, he's Neil. Maybe I'll start off. Neil feels a bit weird, guys. Like, I think he's going to dominate. But as Logan says here, preseason injury players are always a bit of a question. What do you guys think?
Well, considering that I am in the Dunk camp on this one, I definitely do take that consideration of the preseason issues. I also think he's just been the default go-to. I don't think many people have considered moving elsewhere. I mean, we had Bont go, we had Butters go. Now we've got Daicos going. Like, we've got the main M1 and 3 that we were part of, all considering. Some already had Neil on their team as a bit of a pod, which didn't work out. But I think it's just kind of a reflux auto-correct into Neil without really considering preseason and the potential tag threats. It is a lot of cash. Personally, I think there's too much value this season to really lock in someone like Neil. But again, if you are going for more of a guns and rookies and it does work for your structure, I think Neil's a great pick. But I think a lot of us are looking at value, and I think Neil potentially just kind of interrupts that structure a little bit too much.
Fair enough. Guys, pretty much the same.
Yep.
Will Ashcroft or Callahan? To me, I think Callahan, just even if it's just the tipping point of, hey, he's already come out and popped out a 140. Like, he could have a couple of slow games just next, and then you offload him to Petrarca in like 3 or 4 weeks. So I think you're going to make a bit of money on Callahan regardless. Fair to say, guys? Or you're on the Will Ashcroft train?
No, I'm pretty confident that Callahan is a better pick than Ashcroft. Only because I think the CBAs are more certain with Finn Callahan than Ashcroft. Even if Tom Green comes back, he's going to get the same amount of CBAs. It's not going to change. He's their second best midfielder. So Ashcroft could be a 4th stringer, could be a 3rd stringer. We don't really know. So yeah, that's why I go with the safer option.
Fair enough. Heading through, Ed Richards still a good pickup or down to a rookie? I think he's going to be okay. I think he's probably going to tear North Melbourne a new butthole, but in terms of actually selections and whatnot, maybe not as much. God, what are you doing if Daicos has done his calf and he's out for 6 weeks? You're copping a bit of flack here today, mate. I'll try and keep the anti-Collingwood sentiment out of the chat if we can, guys.
Mate, no, don't worry. I'm used to it. I can come back. Don't worry. Daicos, if he did his calf for 6 weeks, I think my YouTube career is over, and I'm just going to spend the rest of my days lying in bed. because
Get a little poster up of Nick Daicos on your ceiling, thinking of the better days.
oh, well, believe it or not, I've got like 3 prints in my room of Scott Pendlebury. So, yeah, Daicos could be the next one. But yeah, he'll still win the Brownlow. Don't worry, nothing to worry about.
The AFL will fix it somehow, and then everyone else who's relevant will either be out for a few weeks, or they'll be like, "Oh, the lawyers got off. Oh, that's okay." Finn O'Sullivan versus Ashcroft. Only pick one due to structure. I would pick O'Sullivan. Sorry, I would pick Ashcroft until we find out that O'Sullivan's named at halfback. I think that's a fair shout. If O'Sullivan's named at halfback, we're going to get another run similar to we had Sheasel, similar to we had McKercher. I think Finn O'Sullivan could definitely be that person for us as well. So, yeah, it'd be great having him as DPP. And, round 6, chuck him in the back line, and you've got a competent D6 for a while. So, it's not too bad there, I suppose, as well. I think we did this one already. Have you guys ruled out picking SDK? For me, yes.
Yep.
I think if we had seen him dominate in round 0, potentially, there'd be a time when I could pick him. But for myself, no. God, same with you. No SDK?
No, could come in after 2 rounds though.
Fair enough. All right, then. Let's check out the injuries for heading into round 1. Adelaide, Kai, take us through some injuries.
Adelaide, nothing major, I would say. Strachan being out for the season and allowing Mick Andrew to get onto the list is probably the interesting one, because Adelaide fans seem to really like Mick Andrew against ROB in the intra-club. So maybe he gets a run sometime, and that's the min R3, but you'd expect, I would give it about a 1% chance of Mick Andrew starting round 1.
Yeah, fair enough. They don't if it was Peatling, Dawson, a few other guys injured, we'd have some things to talk about, but not really for Adelaide.
Then we have Brisbane, and sadly, probably the guy that would fix a lot of problems is going to be out to gather round in Kitty Coleman, or there or thereabouts. Dodie would have been an interesting one. I don't know if someone can bring up his price while we talk about Brisbane themselves. I think he would have been a decent price, but outside of that, it's nothing really major for Brisbane, I would say.
Yeah, Coleman's 269k. So a lot of people had him alongside of Mills, or you could have had Mills out and then thrown him in there, that kind of thing, if you wanted to.
Yeah, Dode is currently sitting at 256.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting D5 discussion. And then we move down to Carlton, and they have quite a few, I would say, noteworthy injuries. Chincotta, this is probably just in terms of the tagger debate. I know that there's Daicos, that would have been that probably would have put the absolute nail in the coffin if you had 4 or 5 straight taggers. Curnow being out, that doesn't really have too much of an impact given Pitnet is out as well. But if that was the other way around, then that would have been interesting. Nick Newman and the change of how that, the handover there, I guess, to a certain extent with Ollie Hollands and the run on there, but he's out for the year. And then Jagger Smith has caused the rookie midfield almost chaos in the rookie ranks there, with him being out, as he was basically M6 or 7 for most people. Up until that knee injury, it was pretty much locked away. I think even at one point I had him being rookie of the year or cash gen of the year, pretty much locked and loaded, and now he's out. And I mean, we're all just like, well, he's going to be good next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then we get to Collingwood, and I'll hand this over to God just to go through the woes, I guess.
Back 1 second.
Well, you wonder why we were so bad. It's because we had this injury list. This is why. I mean, Joel Cochran, absolute gun, picked like 60 in last year's draft, probably could have got a game today, to be honest. Sorry, on Sunday. Mason Cox. I actually think we're better with Mason Cox in the team. I think we're better off having him over a Membry. And I'm being genuinely serious as well. I actually do believe that. So 1 to 2 weeks for him. Probably give him a week in the VFL and then bring him into the team. Degoe, 1 to 2 weeks. So it's 1 week now. So I think Degoe will just go straight into that midfield, maybe a 60-40 split, hopefully. Definitely not Supercoach relevant. But yeah, Harvey Harrison did his ACL end of start about around the start of the year of last year. So probably won't get back till about mid-year. And then Dan Houston suspended, obviously, for that bump. I can't even remember the bump now, but yeah, he's back this week. Tom Mitchell, foot. Yeah, no clue when he's coming back. I think he keeps injuring it, so it's not a good sign. And then Ilro Smith, he's a ruckman, and he is not Supercoach relevant. But yeah, somehow done his throat. I don't know how he's done that, but that's an interesting one. And then Oscar Steen with the finger issue. Actually, people at the Pies like him, so who knows? Could be a debutant at some point this year. 3 weeks out with that.
Okay, and perfect timing to get back to Essendon here. Obviously, with Essendon, Parish, chaos, I would say that he allows with Sardis. That is, well, I would at least like them to 4 TPCs. That's a little bit annoying. I know it's preseason, but I'd at least like even if it's just a 6-week range, just give us something. Laverde doesn't really matter. Jones test doesn't matter too much. Guelphy, that probably opens up some rookie small forward to play and get some random score that will interest half the community. Davey Jr. Has probably done, I would think it's an ACL probably from his knee, and then Nick Cox concussion. Essendon pretty much relatively full strength, and we'll just see how that midfield mix goes, and hopefully Sardis can score that 80 or so, 75 that we need from him, and do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then he gets cover in his bye round, and suddenly he's able to be one of those rookies that gets up quickly to a mid-price, even a mid-price or a underpriced premium. I would feel like he could be the way suddenly to get back to Daicos from someone.
If he makes that cash pretty quickly, you'll be right. Hey? Maybe I'll go off. I'll do Freo. Freo here, big one is obviously Sean Darcy. They were saying he'd be right for round 1. They'd be saying he'd be right for round 2. Now it's another 3 to 5 weeks with him. Kind of puts Reedy in a weird position because Reedy's not very good. So if you've got Jackson in your team, you might actually be in for a bit of a sneaky pod that could end up scoring very big. Josh Draper, not really relevant in Supercoach, similar to Nat Fyfe. Hayden Young is probably the next one on the list there. Hamstring was projected to play the preseason games, did his hamstring during training. And yeah, it's a bit of an awkward, weird one. Opens up the likes for Nod, potentially for Murphy Reed, Erasmus as well, who are all in contention. But unfortunately, probably not. I don't know. I'm not a big Nod fan, but the other two, we'll see what happens with them. Just means that Brayshaw and Sarong get the, what do they call it? Like the piece of the pie, the majority stake in that midfield. So, yeah, big one for them. Nothing really affecting down back for Fremantle, so it's all go for Luke Ryan, really.
Good old Seagull.
And moving on to Geelong, Coach, do you want to take over this one?
Yes. So I think the main ones here is we Maynard, obviously foot. the word around the street is that he's probably, when he does come back, he's probably just spending the season in the VFL to kind of get him back to being fit and ready. So I don't expect to see him pop his head up at all. Cam Guthrie, again, one of those, just one of those IQ players that Geelong will kind of miss through some game times. Again, TBC, not let on much, but again, it is Achilles, so I don't think we can have too many hopes of he's coming back. The interesting one, which is probably going to affect the most in regards to Geelong players, is Conway. We obviously know the ruck situation at Geelong is very flexible. We have Stanley, we got SDK, we got Mark Lickarves as well. Conway looks to be, I would dare say, a bit of the shoe-in to really, if they were going to take a spot, it was going to go to Conway. There has been comments at STK that Geelong really favour him as a defensive and as a backline player. So keep an eye on for where Conway comes back. Tanner Bruin, not a lot has come out in regards to his return or anything like that. So nothing too crazy. Geelong is fairly, pretty much at full strength. Yeah, obviously, there was concerns with Basilinka in preseason, but he seems all good to go. But yeah, injury-wise, full-strength team. Hopefully, the Catters can bring it home this season.
Yeah, I think Tanner Bruin's been a bit of a naughty boy, so we might not.
Yes, I don't think we'll talk too much on TB because it's very naughty.
And moving on to Gold Coast, and first one up, Mac Andrew. That was probably not the best thing to watch, that collision with Taylor Adams, and now subsequently both of them are arguably on the injury list from completely different incidents. Ballard, Tess, Sam Flanders. He was sort of up and down in preseason. Talks about, could you just start him? He's obviously now had injuries and no go, I would say, at least till mid-season. Let that sort of heal itself over. Lombard tried to take out one of his draftees and took himself out for 10 weeks with, I'm thinking it's a
busted
shoulder
surgery
in the end. Yeah. Would be AC joint or something like that. Swallow did his, it was another casualty from that preseason game, the official preseason. And then Lockie Weller, he really hasn't had a good run of it for 4 years now or something like that with all the injuries. And so Gold Coast, it's hard to, obviously they had that game cancelled and all the chaos that is going to happen with them and them having one less game officially count. Well, no, they're actually still at the one game. But that extra bye, I guess, that early bye and all the chaos there. And we don't really get a look in at that backline is probably the most annoying part of it all. And so is a no-go to Flanders, Rioli and all those guys. And their rookie injured himself. So they're really a non-Supercoach relevant side other than Anderson for the flex position down the line, I feel like this year, which is quite funny to see after Closey and Graham last year.
Maybe they'll get someone mid-season draft. Maybe someone like a Rioli kind of post-buy becomes a good option. But outside of that, it's a bit of a rough one.
Yeah.
Gold Coast, I think.
They'll probably find some winger or something like Jepson I have heard some things about, but I think it's Jepson. But yeah, it's just really a cold year for Gold Coast. And GWS, they barely fit on the page. That's with all their suspensions and everything. A lot of it as well with GWS, just looking at this, it's a lot of like their 22 to 30 in terms of their best players. Angwin, Fay, Conti, Gothard, McMullen, Riccardi, Stringer and Thomas. I would say they're all pretty much in that 20 to 30 range, and they're all in some way out for until basically past and if you look here, they all basically return once GWS gets off the bye. So it's interesting, and that almost poses the question about Leak is, does he survive what I suspect is going to be a 5 or 6 man inclusion in that round 3 post-bye game where you're going to have Green. Let's just rattle them off here. It's going to be, I suspect, Thomas, Stringer, Hogan, Green, and then probably Fonte and Angwin. So that's already 6 guys already coming back. And that's even without considering Riccardi compared to Grzeski, which you could argue, I would say Riccardi's probably ahead of him. So that's why the GWS rookies are so hard to, I think, tell, and why out of all this chaos, somehow there's basically no halfback that I'm looking at going, they're going to actually return to knock off Connor Stone, to be honest with you. So I'd probably start Connor Stone and leave Leak out just due to the pricing mechanism of Supercoach, meaning they need 3 games. And I just don't know if
I think he's going to play 3.
Gets the 3 games. I don't know if he gets 3 full games, put it that way. I think he's subbing in round 3.
Fair enough. Who's up next?
Hawthorn. So, Big J, do you
God,
want to take
take
that?
us through the Hawks?
All yours, Big J.
All right, then. James Blank, obviously 6 to 8 weeks. Mate, I don't think he's best 22 anymore anyway, with the likes of Barras and Battle in the team. Sam Butler, similar situation. Cal Shadir is probably the one that hopefully he gets back soon for all you Sicily owners or guys who want Sicily in your teams. Because once the forward line gets better, hey, look, Sicily's now playing back again. Mitch Lewis, similar as well. And then Giath, obviously a test. So, yeah, I think Giath got injured in the first intra-club or the first preseason game, which wasn't great for him. So, for a team at Hawthorn, and we talk about flag favourites, I think they're doing very, very well in terms of injuries and guys who are key players still playing in the team.
Yeah, the only one that obviously them playing in round 0 that propped up would be the Warple syndesmosis, but 4 to 5 weeks isn't as bad as the Gordon one, which was 8 to 12 or whatever plus it was at that point. So he escaped, I think it was surgery, which puts them back a while there. So there maybe Mackenzie gets a little bit better run, but I don't think I wouldn't like the odds there, to be honest, with Hawthorn. Maybe Huswaite or something gets a rookie run there that you could potentially go at instead of a Boxall or something like that. But yeah, the Hawthorn pretty clean, and they've started off the season strong.
Definitely. Well, I mean, we kind of ratted on Mackenzie a little bit, but potentially, and maybe Will Day cemented spot a bit more, get some more CBA time, that kind of thing. It could almost be negative for Will Day, right? Like another player to bump around and get the ball off him. Now he gets more of a target because there's no one else really there.
Yeah, I think the Pies should get James Blank in the off season. That'd be a good addition, considering he's probably gonna have to leave the Hawks with all those big tall defenders now.
Speaking of God, do you want to take us through Melbourne?
Yeah, Marty Hoare, obviously, he's a famous rookie in the game as Supercoach from a few years ago, and then he became a rookie again last year, was it? So, yeah, he's injured to be continued. Kentfield, I could not tell you who the hell that is. So, yeah, he's to be continued as well. Shane McAdam, he's out for the season with a ruptured Achilles. That hurts Melbourne quite a bit. I don't even remember him getting that injury. Was that last year or is that pre-season?
I think it was pre-season.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Judd McVee, hamstring, 4 to 6 weeks. Probably not that. He could be Supercoach relevant, but I don't think he will be. Melksham, hamstring. He's another to be continued. Don't know if he gets a game. He probably would get a game, but yeah. Manise Wakefield, he's done his ACL or some part of the knee, but he's out for the season. Cozzy Pickett, he's suspended because he's a naughty boy, so he's not playing till round 4. Charlie Spargo, Achilles. I don't know if that's ruptured or not, but yeah, he's to be continued. And Tholstrup back 6 to 8 weeks. So he might come back into the team when he's recovered.
Good.
I'm just
Well,
glad there's no Petrarca on there. Otherwise, I'd be very-
given that North Melbourne is supported by someone here, I think Big J, you can take it again.
Yeah, definitely. Coleman Jones probably isn't ever going to play again, so I don't need to worry about him. Worst trade in AFL history. Thank you very much.
Don't you
Brady
forgot about
Rawlings,
Phil.
Cam Joyce. You know, at least Jared Pollock played a few games. I think Coleman Jones has played like 7 in the last 5 years. Zane Dersma test, so just waiting to see. Was looking really good. And then just injured himself there. Zach Fisher, similar thing too. Hopefully him being out means that Foz comes in and cements his spot at halfback. Or at least I think with him, it's not cement the spot as opposed to like just needs the opportunity to actually get this job and then he'll keep it. Braden George, 6 to 8 weeks. Nice to see him recovering. Should be playing some VFL in a few weeks, which is nice. Josh Goddard could have potentially played off halfback, did quite well during the season, but has hamstringed himself again. And then George Wardlaw, I'm not sure if that is correct as, you know, what is that, 5 to 7 weeks? I think he's going to play probably round 5. I think might be the go. So misses the first month and then hopefully he's back. North Melbourne, surprisingly, not many injuries, which is good. Outside of like fringy type players. So very, very happy there as a North Melbourne fan. Thoughts on Tom Powell? I think Tom Powell's fantastic. I think he's going to break out this year. Not sure if he's relevant in Supercoach. Would have loved for him to be the price that he was last year at like 310K instead of what he is now. Obviously at 440K is a bit hard to pick. But he's going to have a very good year, come into it very fit. Fisher is my most annoying player as a North fan. Never should play again yet. Like Ian, I'm more than happy to run him as like VFL bench cover, cool, but not in the best 22. Yeah, cool.
And then moving on to Port, I think, Coach, you can run us through the Butters and the implications there.
Yeah, so the most devastating of them all really is Butters. Obviously needed surgery on that knee. I think this, 4th of March is probably the most updated for most of these for the moment. But again, we're probably looking, we're always going to need confirmation, but I would imagine it's not until a good probably round 6 that we potentially see Butters getting started into the mix. Hopefully it's earlier. We all want these Penrose back in earlier. Going without, the main ones are really impactful. But this does open up for Rosie and the Horny Man himself to take the reins and hopefully provide us a lot more value at their price. There was concerns on Rosie. Obviously, we saw that hip drop tackle from the Horny Man himself. But they just said it was a stub toe. All reports out of Port that he's all good to go and there's no concerns. So I missed that one, thankfully. Given the theme of this preseason, that would have been just another nail in the coffin to wrap up and try again next year. But outside of that,
Hinkley, survival tour,
Yeah, just another thing to stick against Hinkley. So not a great rap sheet at the moment for him, but we'll see. We'll see if they can do something nice before they do the handover. But Todd Marshall, again, Achilles. I'm not too sure if this is ruptured or what the go is there. Radicalier as well, just a knee issue. There's some Radicalier is probably a more impactful player for Port, just given the height of this man. And we know that there's a constant flow of, we saw Finlayson and Evans and Bergman as well. So I think it opens up a bit of opportunities for someone maybe like Sin. We're also, again, Evans isn't a bad shout if you want to take the risk. But again, I think they're just dividing up points back there. Someone's probably going to have a spike and that person could spike randomly each week. So Visitini as well. Not too sure on him as well as Zach Thatcher as well. Haven't heard too much out of the shop on where they're actually expected or if we're still waiting on confirmation for these guys as well.
I doubt Visentini's best 22 anyway. I mean, cover and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So you still got Soldo and Sweet in there. Again, Sweet is going to be definitely one to watch.
Or Soldo maybe gets a run this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Oops.
See what happens. But nothing too crazy.
And on to Richmond and the ACL. Is that a quintet at that point? That is chaos with the ACLs. And I think the most recent update was around mid-Feb when I forget which one of them they said. I think it was Judson Clark was leading the returnees, and they said it was about round 5 or 6. So all of them should follow after that. Layla, obviously, we got the debut notification earlier today saying that he would debut alongside the likes of Armstrong and Trainer. Prestia, when is he not injured, is a better question. Ralph Smith, hamstring. He probably honestly would be best 22 over the likes of McIntosh with how bad McIntosh was in that preseason game. He got the ball, but he had like 10 clangers or something like that. Smiley, we'll wait for him, but the good thing about him is that it could be easily like one of those chunky, say a Boxall at 113's gotten up to like 250 or something like that. And then someone like a Smiley's on the bubble at, what is he now, 210, 205, 200K or so, something like that. And then you save 50K and get potentially an upgrade, but you have him on the bubble. And then obviously all their other ACLs, but there are a lot of key position players there for the likes of Richmond, and they're not going to do too well anyway as a team. So a lot of these guys will probably just be nursed into it with a lot of VFL action, I would think, after major delays, especially the likes of Houghton playing AFL for the first senior footy for the first time. And does anyone have any update on Tom Lynch anyway? Did he...
I'm not sure. I haven't heard about it.
I
says he'll be right for round 1 there.
Yeah, and I swear he like limped off of training a couple of days ago or something like that. I swear with the
I read something that he had some soreness from training and was hobbling around a little bit. I don't think they're too concerned. I think the reports were just like he's not looking very fit for round 1.
Yep. Moving on to St Kilda, and it's pretty grim, I would say, in terms of the key position stocks. Paddy Dow, not best 22. Liam Henry on the wing, that probably opens up a spot for O'Connor, min-price defender, but that could be on the bubble, potentially stuffed with a red dot material, given that Liam Henry's 3 to 4 weeks away a week ago. That's right on the bubble of round 3. Dougal Howard's out for a long time. King just got ruled out of round 1, I believe, a couple hours ago. Owens, 1 to 3 weeks, or whatever that means in terms of him returning, given this is a week old. Philippou's, I believe, out of either crutches or a brace, one of them. So he's getting there, but that's still around 7 or 8 or whatever. Sharman's out, and Taru, I think he was back running. But the best part about this for St Kilda is probably the guys taken off the injury list, and Sinclair and Marshall not being even on the injury list a week out from the game is probably the best part. Solves a lot of problems, but I'm just wondering, with St Kilda not having King round 1, do they play Boyd or do they not play Boyd? And how does that affect Rowan Marshall is the big question. What do you think, Coach?
Yeah, I think a lot of the talk around the club has been that they need a tall forward impact, and the only person that's going to be able to do that well is Marshall. And Boyd is mature age. He's definitely got the body for the ruck role. You know, he's obviously not going to be at Marshall's level, but is it going to be enough where they can just get occasionally some good hit outs down to, you know, Steele and McRae and even Garcia to get it down the forward line? Because they're all going to be looking. I mean, we saw it happen against Port. They're going to be struggling to get some clean grabs in their front 50. I think Marshall kind of fixes that issue, being able to, one, use the height, but use the body as well to get some clean grabs, hopefully, and get the ball to ground for the smaller guys down there. So I think we're very hopeful. I think we might all have a bit of bias because Boyd's a really cheap rook and we kind of all want him to play so we don't have to, you know, look elsewhere or potentially pick a Reedy and hide behind the couch, probably watch Reedy get absolutely sat down by whoever he comes up against. But yeah, I think it's definitely an option. But again, I think we just kind of have to wait till teams.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's the same concern I've had too. The last couple of preseason games for him weren't great. Harry Boyd. And oh, mate. For a guy that's competing for his spot in the AFL.
Does St Kilda even have a fit key forward at the moment? They've got King,
Kama.
Owens, Sharman, and Taru was a swingman as well. Do they even have a fit one?
Kama.
That's not development.
Just Caminiti, really.
Caminiti, yeah.
I swear he's even playing down back, so they might have to swing him back down into the forward slot. It's a lot of just concentrated injuries for St Kilda in that key position across the back line and the forward line that's probably brought Boyd back into contention just because of it. But then again, as you see with these, he could easily be left on the bubble at 99k and suddenly you get another, say McAndrew plays and you're just sitting there with nothing there whilst others are able to sideways trade to get cashed and flowing at that R3 spot. Then moving on to Sydney, which is arguably just as long as GWS, but without the...
Ian, looks like he's selectable. So I think he'll play round 1.
Yeah, I think it was always tracking towards that, but just confirmation through last week's injury, as we see up above that he's not on the injury list, is probably all but confirmation. Then Sydney, Bowman's not best 22. Cunningham, that probably opens up. I would suggest probably a spot for Patton and we saw last week how he did, or on the weekend, sorry. And I think Wicks is probably opened up an opportunity for those two to play out for the role.
Hey, Mark, have a good day, yeah?
Him.
We'll see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock for the live stream, members live stream.
Yep. Back to Wicks and Patton probably getting that playoff for the spot to partner Cunningham, or that 7th defender, I would say, for Sydney. And I'd say Wicks has gotten that, but he's just too inflated in price. Detoli and Cleary at the same time. They would have both probably been the F7 of choice if Sydney, if they were available. Obviously, Cleary was a little bit naughty, and don't know if it's on here exactly, but and Detoli, stress reaction, I want to say, not a stress fracture in his back, but that's, I think he's only back running now, and they will slowly weed him into everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like round 10 or something, like one of those buy downgrade type of players. Edwards could come in for to bolster up the back line if he's fit and available, but I think Snell's probably the guy ahead of him, even though he's injured as well. Robbie Fox as well, another guy injured, and that's probably how Patton got a game in itself. Grundy, say he's fine. Gordon, they just said 5 weeks plus just because they don't know anyway, and we're not going to know for another month. McDonald, I want to say, was either post-buy or gather round, but that's probably the reason why McCartan's down in the forward line and all the chaos that has, and how I've always been saying that McCartan probably should be that 3rd defender, and and that probably didn't help out Blakey as well, and didn't help out that Florent was in the back line. So there's a lot of moving parts with Sydney. Papley obviously got through his test, but his ankle, I think, popped up pretty badly post-game when they were just walking around and in the room. So that's a worry that he was probably back too early. And then Mills is at after their early buy in round 3, so he should be back. And obviously we talked about Adams with the hamstring tightness and how he's old. So that probably means a slight tear, to be honest with you, even though they won't say it. And how, even though Sheldrick had a really bad game, he's one of Cox's favourites alongside Roberts. So I still think he gets games. And obviously I think he's better than the 32 that we saw. He's been a 90 scorer or whatnot in the VFL. So he should be better. I think he just had a shocking start and the confidence was kind of shot. But he should be better next week. I don't think you can select him now that he has the 30 in his system. But if he was one of those guys with the 70 already, that would have been a different question. But Sydney could easily see them going 0-3. So, and not really many rookies to speak of that are too fancy. Supercoach relevant in probably only Patton, I would say. Maybe Corey Warner, but I would be testing out a 50 with Kako. Got the wrong Essendon rookie there in that F7 spot.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, the Riley Bice,
Last
he was
game.
never really in contention, was he? He was always behind Florent. And Florent even stuffed up, and he's still going to get more games than him. So yeah, he was never there. And moving on to one of the last couple of years, I'll hand it over to God to go through West Coast.
Yep. I think I know about 6 players on West Coast, so this will be fun.
We're all learning.
Rep Bazzo, he's one of those great pickups from somewhere or rather. Yeah, he might never play a game, but yeah, foot 2 to 3 weeks. So yeah, he's not going to be playing. Campbell Chesser, but maybe in their best 22. Not too sure.
I think so.
Yeah, well, he's to be continued. So, Callum Jamison, ankle, knee, 6 to 8 weeks. He's another one of those guys that just, yeah, his career's to be continued. Really, he's not that good. And then Dom Sheed, knee season. Yeah, no, don't want to wish injuries onto anyone, but if I ever had to. And Elliot Yeo, knee and ankle. Yeah, no good for Elliot Yeo. So hopefully he can come back and get back into it. But yeah, no, there's not really any. I guess Elijah Hewitt is a big one because he's so much hype in the preseason. We don't know if he's even going to play. But I don't know if any news has come out on that. My Twitter's down at the moment.
Yeah.
So. I think the coach has said, hey, he's should be ready for selection. So he might not debut, but he might play round 1. So that'd be a good cash cow whatnot for us.
Yeah, might even push a Kako out just to start him. I don't know.
Yeah. He's going to have to roll. Yeah. But just looking at Twitter, seeing everyone being like, yep, Hewitt's an absolute locked-in guy, to then not playing, what was it, the preseason games, to then being out for round 1 with, it was soreness, to then being out for round 1, to now being, could be in line, to then being a round 1, almost should be there. His timeline in the last 2 weeks has been quite chaotic, I would say, in terms of Supercoach relevance.
Yeah, what the hell are West Coast doing? Seriously, just make a decision.
Yeah, a lot of list cloggers still in their best 22, it seems.
Yep,
definitely.
And then we'll finish off with Big J with the West Coast and the midfield injuries.
Yeah, last team before we wrap this up, our injuries. And mate, if you guys haven't already jumped on our Supercoach group, you'll see the comments. I'll see the league code there just down on the banner. Like, share, subscribe, and subscribe for the guys here in the channels too. So you've got their handles there underneath their names if you can as well. Bontempelli, 6 weeks, massive calf, kind of choke up Supercoach. Bailey Dale potentially back this week, so it's going to be interesting with all you Fraser owners if you end up having Fraser in your team. Liam Jones, not really relevant in Supercoach, but does free up a spot for Cleary. If you guys are interested in him, 175k defender. Johannesson, similar thing, not really caring too much. Ed Richards as a test. We saw before that it looks like he might be selectable in Supercoach this week and selectable for the team. Anthony Scott is a test. Trelaw, 3 weeks, so another person through their midfield. I mean, they're playing North Melbourne, so hopefully, all these players are out and they play their VFL team. We might actually get a win. We'll see what happens. Trelaw, 3 weeks. Cody Waitman, 10 weeks. It's tough, man. He's such a good player. He just needs a good injury run. He just gets smashed every week. And then Riley West is a test as well. So probably predicting like the guys who are tests, Bailey Dale, Richards, and then Riley West end up being selectable options there.
Yeah, I mean, Bond's obviously the big one and the sad one, but yeah, I think with the amount of players and quality players they have out, I'm tempted to pick North. I'm really tempted to pick North.
Yeah, I reckon that could be a boil over.
Yeah, it's good. It's like paying $3 or something. I might take that.
We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully you guys are right in the selections. Guys, that looks like that is us for today. Obviously, if you haven't already, check out these guys' Twitters, check out these guys' Supercoach, their YouTubes, all the comments. Stay tuned for team reviews, team reveals coming out as well. If you've got any questions, we are doing the drive home on Thursday. Members stream tomorrow at 6 o'clock. A bit of a sneaky one for you guys who are still watching as well. I'll post up a thing up on Facebook. We'll do our last minute rate your team video. That should come out on Wednesday. So just stay tuned for that. It's going to be good. Guys, you got anything coming out before Supercoach starts on Thursdays?
I'll probably do a captain's video. Maybe just a quick 5-minute video there. And yeah, just posted my team reveal today. So that seems to be getting good traction. So that's good.
Nice. Kai, got anything coming out?
I'll probably just do a basic because I did the 2 game reviews. One of them just went live before we went up. So I'll probably just do an overview on the relevant players, and then Wednesday, Thursday will be the couple of team reveals that I do, and that'll lead into the into all the season.
Nice. Coach, got anything coming out between now and Thursday?
Just the final team reveal, nothing too crazy, but we will pretty much in that video as well set the structure for the season to come and what you guys can expect. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to lock in a team finally, get rid of this preseason carnage, opening round, and watch the game from behind the couch.
Yeah, definitely. Guys, if you do have any questions as well, chuck us up on Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want to do. Say, hey, Big J Joe, who will be back on Thursday. You guys, what do you think about my selections? Hope you guys have enjoyed. Bit of a different setup from last week. We're getting there. Next week's going to be interesting. We can actually talk about some real games of Supercoach, players we like, and potential trade-ins. So have a good one, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, how good is that intro?